So we've been talking for the last couple of days here about the War Powers Act of 1973. This is it's actually pretty simple to me. Every president since Gerald Ford has used this resolution to initiate and or justify military actions. Everybody thinks you need to go to Congress. Well, you do if you want to declare war, according to the Constitution. But the president can authorize military actions through the War Powers Act of 1973. Now, there's some restrictions there. You need to notify Congress within 48 hours, which the Trump administration did in this case. And it prohibits troops from being deployed for more than 90 days unless there is a declaration of war. So now, this was called into question yesterday in the Senate. So let's take a peek under the hood. The House has got some other issues here, and one of our favorite people is Congressman Mike Carey, Ohio's 15th District, on the LegacyRetirementGroup.com phone line. Congressman, how are you this morning?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for the time, and I know you're all teed up on this one. So yesterday, the Senate rejected the resolution that would have limited President Trump's ability to continue this military action in Iran. And the House has its own sort of thoughts on this. I think most House Republicans support the president in this, and there is a caveat that could change some people's minds regarding boots on the ground. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think you saw the Senate numbers. Again, you had, I believe, if my numbers are correct, I think you had Fetterman that joined the Republicans in the Senate, and
Yep.
Rand Paul that joined the Democrats. So I think the vote total was 53 to 47. So it effectively ended in the Senate. So coming over here to the House, it was my understanding that we would be voting on that today or tomorrow. Now, of course, given the Senate, we'll see what happens. But if it's already failed in the Senate, it's hard for me to see how, no matter what happens in the House, because I do think you find that there's people on both sides of this in both parties. But no matter what happens in the House, the Senate has already laid out the marker saying that it would not go through the Senate. So we'll see what happens here over the next 24, 48 hours. We're set to vote until Friday, and again, we'll kind of get an indication this morning.
Should Congress be involved if this conflict expands to sending U.S. ground troops to Iran?
Well, listen, I think you said it. The War Powers Act is what it is. And so, if you're going to have troops on the ground for more than 90 days, this whole issue of having a nuclear Iran was something that, every administration has been fearful of for many, many years. The president was very clear. He tried to negotiate with the regime. And again, when it got to the point, that we knew that there could not be any negotiations. Now, there are, you have 500 and some members of Congress, both the Senate and the House. Were each one of those members briefed by the administration? No. But when you brief the leaders of both parties, and that the senior lawmakers of both parties were briefed, so they knew the dangers. They knew what was happening. I think the administration was very effective at going in and targeting these areas and these leaders. And again, this will be the first time that Iran has had the opportunity to really fully get new leadership in. And all in all, not having a nuclear Iran in the middle. This is a country of 91 million people. This isn't something that I think anybody that discusses the idea of putting troops on the ground there. I think that the president's been very clear. We have a very limited objective here, and I think he accomplished that.
Well, I think if we were to somehow vote to end this operation way too early, that is a huge mistake. You could argue whether you could argue whether we should go there have done this in the first place. I'll listen to that argument. I'm not going to change my mind. I think it was the right move, but I know this: ending that operation too early would make the U.S. just far less safe.
Well, not just the U.S., but I think the entire world. And so, and again, there are people that have been talking, well, what this is going to do to energy prices. And clearly, you have 1/5 of all the oil that goes through the Strait of Hormuz, right? So in just on any given day, right before the bombing, I think there were 80 oil tankers that went through the Straits. And if you went to the literally on Saturday, I think there were two. Now, 80% of that oil is going into China and most of Asia, Japan, South Korea, India. But that will disrupt the oil production in that region, and I think you're seeing the retaliation from Iran to many Muslim neighbors attacking not only those vessels but also some of the refineries. So this is going to be a problem that I think we're going to have to face. But I think the facing that problem is far better than having Iran with a nuclear weapon that could kill Americans, could destroy American assets, and ultimately affect all of our all of the people of that region. So in the end, we've eliminated a threat. I think it was the right move. And I'm sure Congress will continue debate on it, but I think the Senate laid the marker down last night.
I saw the stat that Iranian missile strikes are down 86% now since this attack began, speaking with Congressman Mike Carey, Ohio's 15th District. So, I mean, you've touched on a number of different things, Congressman, regime change, nuclear capabilities, and then, the third one is, and you just touched on it, is choking China's ability for energy and oil. And then, we've got now two of these in the last 60 days with the operation in Venezuela, now this one, and that's where China gets most of its oil and gas. So, I mean, there's a lot of different, I guess, results and outcomes from this.
Yeah, I mean, certainly there are. I think, again, when you start looking at Iran in that region and being the state sponsor of terror, which they have been, since the revolution. And I think, those of us that grew up like you and I did, Mike, I mean, we watched the Americans being taken hostage at our embassy. We watched the countdown on the nightly news when we were kids, and I think all of us have that memory. I think there is you've seen these protests across the world in support of getting rid of the Ayatollah, because this is an opportunity, I think, for the people of Iran to have this freedom, which is something that they have lacked, ever since the fall. But I think a lot of people need to understand how the government of Iran was established in the 1970s. I mean, when the Shah was there, this was one of our allies. Over 8 different presidents had met with the Shah, but it was not an open regime. They were not focused on what was best for the people. And ultimately, when Khomeini came to power, most of the people of Iran didn't even know anything about him. He was living in exile in France. People today can go and Google and find out more than what the people of Iran knew in the 1970s. I don't think anybody really foresaw the type of terror-based government that would transpire out of Iran, and that is particularly to the people of Iran. So I think the president saying this is your opportunity for your generation to really do some good things, and I think overall what this can do for that region, what that can do for the Iranian people in terms of oil production, energy production in that region, I think it will make it stable. And hopefully we can work with the people that are be running the country and do it in a way that, again, we don't have to have boots on the ground. I think this is a very specific strike. I think it was effective, and I think in the end this is in the best interest of our country and really for the world.
Do you think this administration has an exit strategy, Congressman?
I think the strategy from what I have read and from the briefings that I have was to eliminate the threat of having a nuclear armed Iran, and I think that was the key, and I think that I'm sure there are other iterations of that. You can never oversimplify something like this, but I do think they have a plan in place. The president was very clear, on what he wanted to accomplish, and I think he'll stick with that.
Congressman Mike Carey, I'm going to put you on the spot now. One of the big stories of the day: McDonald's Big Arch versus the BK Whopper.
Boy, that was bad, wasn't it? I'm telling you. As a guy that will wait in line at Thurman's for a Therminator, I almost feel like we ought to get some of those folks over there, and we can show them how we do it in in south side of Columbus.
Yeah, that's. I think I'm glad you entered the third option there. The Thurman burger is absolutely a valid choice.
Yeah, I think anybody that's waited in that line, and ever since I think it was Man versus Food came out. I mean, it used to be you could go in there easily getting lunch. I mean, now it's almost feel like you have to get in there at like 10:15 or whenever they first open up, so you don't have the line. But I watched that, and boy, I'll tell you what, somebody on his team wasn't advising him well to say that this is good. We'll put this out on the internet. Unbelievable.
Yeah, well, and they're getting a lot of publicity from us too,
sure
so I'm sure they don't hate it too much. All right, Michael, great to hear your voice. Stay safe, my friend. We'll talk again soon, Congressman Mike Carey.